The Earth came into existence just under 4.6 billion years ago, and since then it has gone from a hellish, uninhabitable landscape to a blue and green planet flourishing with life in even the most inhospitable habitats. It is truly remarkable. But how do scientists measure this extraordinary journey? Well, they use something called the Geological Timescale, a set way of measuring our Earth's geological history based on geological, extinction, and evolutionary events. It sounds very complicated, but if it's explained well, then it's actually pretty easy to understand. So you already know what the Earth's geological timescale is, but how's it structured? So first, let us explore how scientists structure the geotimescale. The geotimescale, at its most simplest form, can be split into two sections, the Precambrian and the Phanerozoic eon. Eons are some of the largest measurements of geological time and last for well over 500 million years. Now, despite how it sounds, the Precambrian isn't an eon, but instead a name to define the time before the existence of complex life forms. In fact, the Precambrian can be split up into a few eons itself. It consists of the Hadean eon, literally named after the Greek god of the underworld because Earth was basically living hell back then, the Archean eon, which is named after the Greek word for beginning, and the Proterozoic eon, meaning early life because the first signs of complex life began to appear towards the end of this eon. Now, there are more finer ways to break up the Precambrian, but if I detailed all of those, then we would probably be here for hours. So let's move on to the Phanerozoic. Now this is where things get interesting, because thanks to the presence of complex life forms, there's more reason to split up the Phanerozoic eon in order to better understand the time within. So let's talk about what's next on the list, eras. Geological eras last for usually a couple 100 million years. The Phanerozoic is split into three eras, the Paleozoic, often called the Age of Ancient Life, the Mesozoic, also known as the Age of the Dinosaurs, and the Cenozoic, sometimes referred to as the Age of Mammals. And each of these three eras is separated into geological periods, which can last anywhere from 25 to 75 million years. The Paleozoic, by far the largest of the three eras, is split up into the Cambrian, the Ordovician, the Silurian, the Devonian, the Carboniferous, and the Permian periods. The Mesozoic contained the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous, and the Cenozoic, by far the smallest of the three eras, consists of the Paleogene, the Neogene, both of which are often combined and referred to as the Tertiary, and the Quaternary periods. And finally, the periods of the Cenozoic era can be split up into multiple different geological epochs, which last for several million years each. The epochs consist of the Paleocene, the Eocene, the Oligocene, the Miocene, the Pliocene, the Pleistocene, and the Holocene. Whew. That took a little while, but if you watch it over again another few times and pay attention, then you can start to get a good idea of what the geological timescale looks like. But all this talk of eons, eras, periods, and epochs doesn't really give you an actual sense of scale. After all, the true magnitude of the geotimescale is often overlooked and or unappreciated. So let's look at some statistics to put it all into perspective. The entire Cenozoic era, which has lasted for 66 million years so far, could fit inside the entire Cretaceous period, which lasted for over 80 million years. And just in case that doesn't give you enough scale, for the entire 4.543 billion years of Earth's existence, true Homo sapiens have only existed for around 200,000 years, which amounts to about 0.007% of the timescale. Adding the rest of the Cenozoic era onto that, and it amounts to about 1.5%. The dinosaurs' rule amounts to 3%, and the Paleozoic era amounts to a proportionally larger yet still shockingly small 8% of Earth's entire existence. And the Precambrian staggeringly takes up the remaining 87.5% of all geological time, meaning that complex life has existed for way, way less than it hasn't. It's a thought that is pretty frightening and interesting at the same time. And ultimately, in your lifetime, assuming you live up to the age of 80 years, you will only experience 0.0000028% of the Earth's existence. We like to think that our species, and even more so our lives, are vastly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, that we barely have any effect on anything. And that may actually be true, but while we may not have an effect on the past, or possibly even the very far and distant future, you, I, and our fellow human beings definitely have an impact on what happens now, and maybe even a few thousand years ahead. So remember, you're not useless, so don't live your life like you are. Thanks for watching. And if you want to learn more about this interesting subject, then I've made a comprehensive and easily understandable timeline about it. It's on a website. I'll link it in the description below. So, yeah, that's all.